In this video, we're going to be trying to make a Python program to perform a simple simulation. So to start off with, open up a web browser and go to replit.com, replit.com, and you can either sign up or log in. I've already made an account, so I'm going to log in, and mine's linked to my Google account. So when you log in, you're faced with a screen like this, which looks a little bit scary, but you have to kind of ignore most of that stuff and go to Create REPL and choose Python. Now it will automatically suggest a name for your project. It doesn't really matter what that's called, but you can rename it if you want. I'm just going to leave that name there, Wild Sweet Key, and click Create REPL. Now the way this works is we've got our main coding window here, and we've also got a sort of place where we're going to run our program. You can also type simple commands in here if you want to see Python work things out for you. So 3 plus 5, very good Python. 3 times 5, use Shift 8 for a star to get times. And now let's try and do something a bit more interesting. So I click in here. I'm going to just start typing to get rid of that kind of annoying message there. And I would like to import the randint command. Now randint gives me a random integer or whole number in a range. So if I go randint 1,6, that will simulate rolling a die. So I could go like die 1 equals randint 16, and then I could print the result. And now if I click run, there we go, it's rolled a die and got a 6. I can click run again, and so on. Now it's kind of not that interesting. So what I could do now is I could maybe have another die and ask Python to add those two numbers up for me. So I click run, and now it's going to give me a number between 2 and 12, and so on. Now you probably don't want to click run hundreds of times because that's a little bit boring. So what you could do is you can use a loop in Python. So I'm going to use a for loop, and I'm going to type for I in range 100, colon, and then I'm going to use the tab key to just indent the things that I want to repeat. Now if I click run, it will roll the dice 100 times and add them up, and I can scroll back to see the answer. Well, that's kind of fun, but what I really want to do is I want to keep track of the sums. So in order to keep track of the sums, I need two things. I need a variable that I'm going to use to keep track of it. So I'm going to call that variable counter, and I'm going to say if die1 plus die2, and maybe I want to see how many times it adds up to 8. And if it adds up to 8, I'm going to make the counter go up by 1. So the counter is now going to equal whatever it did equal plus 1. And then at the end, I want to print the counter after the loop. So I click run now, and it's 10, 15. Basically, it's telling me how many times of those 100 times did the dice add up to 8. I can obviously change this number if I want to do more trials. So maybe I could do 1,000 trials, 153 out of the 1,000 trials, or 10,000 trials. If you're feeling really bold, you could try even more. And if you wanted to figure out the experimental probability, you could take something like this. You go print counter divided by 10,000, and then it will divide it for you. It tells you the experimental probability based on that experiment is 0.1359. So hopefully this was a helpful introduction to how you can use Python to run a simulation.